we have another person who I want to introduce. And we have within the Democratic Party a whole lot of, as the Speaker staff had just heard, we have a whole lot of viewpoints about what to do and how to get things done. And she knows that I have said this to her in countless meetings. I am a student of history, and I was a teacher of social studies. And there's actually no one, in my judgment, who has actually gotten more done in the complicated ways that government operates, whether you have the polarization, the deep polarization we have today, or in the history of polarization we've had in the country. There's no one who gets things done as much as Speaker Nancy Pelosi in her first speakership and now in her second speakership. And as I said, frankly, in my speech yesterday, Madam Speaker, that you did your job in terms of the HEROES Act. You also brought the first COVID relief package and the second COVID relief package and tried to make the third COVID relief package that was Mitch McConnell's giveaway better and fairer. But you did your job in May to try to get us the resources we needed to reopen schools safely. And they are still dithering, and they are still scoffing, and they are still undermining. But I want to say to all of our members that are watching, we have no better friend and no more effective advocate in terms of how we move policy than the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I will accept your kind words on behalf of our very diverse and beautiful House Democratic Caucus. And yes, we do have various exuberances within our party. But as I say to the members, our diversity is our strength. Our unity is our power. And let me just say happy birthday to Evelyn. I'm so glad I got to see the film for whatever scheduling reason. Reminded me of being with you, Madam President, in Puerto Rico when you were addressing the convention there and hearing and seeing firsthand not only the challenges, but what AFT was bringing to the people and the students and the teachers of Puerto Rico. I consider myself probably the president of your fan club, but I know other people will compete for that honor to see you in Puerto Rico, to see you virtually, to see you actually in California, across the country, in DC, advocating for the children, their teachers, their families, their healthcare givers is just a joy to behold. You're an inspiration. You give me hope. And I thank you for that. I want to.
We compete with each other because I think I am the head of your fan club.
Well, I thank you for participating in we had the 100 Days town meeting the other day on Sunday. And again, it's always an honor when you join our virtual communication with the world. Thank you for doing that once again.
So what I would like to do, so there's thousands of people, our delegates are watching, this has also been live streamed. There's been this week, this craziness in terms of the Congress. It's almost like I'm not quite sure whether Mitch McConnell actually has a position on what to do in terms of COVID recovery. I'm not sure that they can put anything together. What's the state of play right now? And frankly, for all of our members who know that they're not going to be able to have schools, Dr. Fauci told this yesterday, even he and others have said, if we don't get the resources or if we don't actually have the safeguards in schools, how do we open them for kids? And I'm talking about areas that don't have a surge. I'm talking about areas that don't have soap, that don't have open windows. So what's going on in terms of the HEROES Act right now, and what can we do to help you help us?
Well, first of all, thank you for your leadership for our children. As I have said, I want to extend my condolences for the more than 200 members of AFT who have already lost their lives to COVID. It's really so sad, so heartbreaking. As we mourn the passing of John Lewis, I say it's a death in the family for us in Congress. But he would say, and has said to me while we were in the last conversations, there's a death in the family of nearly 150,000 American people because of the coronavirus. And that just did not have to happen. So here we are. 10 weeks ago today, we passed the HEROES Act. It is a bill that, again, has three main pillars. One, honor our heroes, our healthcare workers, our teachers, our first responders, our sanitation workers, our food suppliers, our transit workers, all the people who make the system run, many of whom, as you have done, have risked their lives in this crisis, and now they may lose their jobs. And so we have our first pillar, honor our heroes, so that state and local government can retain the people who are providing these services, many of them teachers. Secondly, open our economy, open our schools, but you cannot do it unless you destroy the virus. And that costs money. And we have a strategic plan, which we have had for a long time, but once again, even with more money, for testing, tracing, treating, social distancing, wear the mask, sanitation, and the rest. There's a plan. It's right there. It will save lives. Third is to put money in the pockets of the American people. And that is one of the fights we're having right now, over the $600, which we think is pathetic of them to resent somebody getting $600. They said, well, we know some people may stay home from work for the $600. And I said, well, you add it up. You have data, I have data. You want to say how much you think that we're losing because somebody's staying home from work? Let me compare that to how much we're losing, but because people are abusing another part of the COVID recovery money that is out there in bigger doses to big business and the rest.
It's like, I just want to interrupt you there for a second, because how do you sit in a room with people who say that to you? Like, how do you, you know, we've been asking people a lot, like, how do you have hope in this time? But how do you sit there without wanting to throttle somebody? Who says that?
I said, even worse, because I want to come back to school.
Okay,
but
sorry.
Even worse, I said to them yesterday, I said, millions of children in our country are food insecure. Families don't know how they're going to put food on the table. So it's just that one thing, you think you would support food stamps, the SNAP program, WIC, Women, Infant, and Children, initiatives for food security for our country. Just fake it that you care about people in this one place, because I myself cannot understand who you are if you don't understand we have to feed the hungry in our country and the children in our country. They said, well, we think we should give money to food banks. I said, well, more people are going to food banks than ever thought they'd ever go, except to volunteer, but now to eat. And they're under donated to for a variety of reasons as well. So that's the one that gets me. Feed the children? No. So I say this very clearly. And I said this to my members a couple of days ago. The position that the Democrats and the Republicans are taking on the COVID-19 legislation, the coronavirus legislation, the HEROES Act, shows the big difference that exists between Democrats and Republicans. They're there for the special interest and let it trickle down. If something does, that'd be good. If it doesn't, so be it. That's the free market. Versus the Democrats, who are the bubble up party. How do we meet the needs of America's working families? How do we do it? By putting money in their pockets at a time of this economic stress? How do we address the disparity and how the coronavirus is affecting communities of color and economically disadvantaged areas in a much more horrible way? And how do we say how do they say, which they've said, we're not doing state and local. And we're saying, yes, you are. You just don't know it yet. You have to. You have to.
Right.
And what do you want? These people to be fired and then go on unemployment insurance? And is that saving you any money? And what is it doing to the needs of our children? But my three issues, people ask me, what do you think the three most important issues are in the Congress? I always say the same thing. For over 30 years, I've said the same thing. Our children, our children, our children. Their health, their education, the economic security of their families, a safe, and that means gun safety, gun-safe environment, a clean environment in which they can succeed, thrive, in a world at peace in which they can succeed. It's always about the children, and no one cares more about the children than our teachers, our custodians, our healthcare workers who minister to their needs. So here we are. They come out with this plan. When we had $100 billion in our plan, we knew it wasn't enough, but we had to get a bill passed. And I said to Randy, you'll be there in the negotiation at the table with us when we try to get more money. Well, they came in and said, we've met you and we've added $5 billion more. Well, here's what they do, though. In their money, which is really a hell of a nerve, if you'll pardon my French.
Yeah.
They have 105. 5 goes to governors, okay. 70 goes to K through 12. 29 goes to higher education, and $1 billion goes to Native American governments, et cetera. But of the $70 billion, 20 billion go to all schools, public and private, some distribution. 7 goes to private, just private, and then $46 billion goes to help schools which are reopening actually only. Is that, I mean, what are they thinking?
Yeah.
You think they'd say safety first.
Yep.
Now let's back up from there. How do we use our resources to open our schools safely with actually distance learning, hybrid, whatever it is? But what could they be thinking to say about half of the money we're giving, you're not getting unless you are opening actually more than half. It's 46 of the 70.
Yeah.
Again, 7 of it going to private schools exclusively. So it's a Betsy DeVos plan.
I was going to say,
And
it was not.
Betsy DeVos?
Yeah.
She said children should take risk, astronauts take risk. And how about the press person at the White House said, we cannot let science stand in the way of education and sending kids to school. So this is about health. There's an answer. Testing, tracing, treating, distancing. There's an answer. And there's a way to open the school. It takes money, but money spent the right way. And that means the health of the children, the health of the teachers, custodians, health, whoever else is involved in opening our schools actually.
And we still need that money for schools that can't open in person initially, like in your city of San Francisco, in LA, in Houston, Atlanta. We need money for digital equipment. We need money for kids who don't have. We need money for connectivity. We need money for the PD to make remote better. We need money for for food insecurity. And so this whole notion of luring by money as opposed to ensuring the health and safety, it's cockeyed. And this notion, as you just said, of science, which is how you open, which is how you tackle a virus. When did it become the obstacle? I mean, I'm a social studies teacher, I know that. So but how, so what can, and I know we have to leave soon and whatever, but what, I know long term, and I want to make sure our members see this, just like you said, you were in Puerto Rico, you've been in these hotspots, you've walked the walk with us. We've seen that for the last 2 years in terms of or the last year and a half in terms of what the House has done, the George Floyd Policing Act, H.R. 1, the work in terms of trying to make sure that unions, that working people can actually negotiate, can actually have more power. All the prescription drugs, so many of the policies that frankly, we just talked about in the earlier session, you actually have passed out of the House of Representatives. So I know this is top of the mind right now, but what would happen if you had partners in government? Like, what would happen if Joe Biden got elected, or if, the Senate, that Chuck Schumer became the majority leader because there were more, a majority of Democratic senators? What would tell our members what would happen if you had some partners?
Well, let me first say, before we leave the Heroes Act, that Bobby Scott, our chairman of Education Labor Committee, whom you know well,
Yes.
and who admires you so much, he has basically said, if you want to help the schools, you have to help state and local
Absolutely.
government, because that's where most of the money comes from. So that's one of the fights that we're having with them now. They don't want to do that. But so the money for schools is one piece of it.
Yep.
But that's the federal piece, but the state and local piece is over 90% of it.
Absolutely.
And they want to diminish that. They don't believe in governance, and they don't believe in science. So if they don't care about science so that teaches them something, then they don't have to do anything about it. And that's great, because they don't believe in doing anything about it.
And
Okay,
we didn't,
so-
let me just also say, and we didn't take the bait of them saying 105, it's over the 100, therefore you should be grateful. We said, yeah, let's see what the poison pills are. And one of the poison pills is the absence of any state and local funding, as well as this diversion of more than a disproportionate share to the private schools. But so
And Chuck,
Yeah.
your friend Chuck Schumer has us up to like $400
Yep,
billion
yep.
now.
Yes, he does.
Thanks to you. He said to them, he's been saying to them, that was 10 weeks ago.
yeah,
That didn't take into consideration opening the schools. It didn't take into consideration the spread of the virus, because the fact is, opening up schools is related to how you contain the spread of the virus
Exactly.
in certain communities. So he's been out there. He said it was one then, it's now $400 billion
Yeah.
now.
and
Let's see
because
what
of all
we
the
do.
child care money that we need as well. So it's, K-12,
Well,
the higher ed, and the child care money.
Well, just on the floor, I just spoke on the floor on the child care, saying that's transformative. People cannot go to work if they don't have
Exactly.
anybody to take care of the children. And our slogan in San Francisco is children learning, parents earning. They go together. Now, I have a granddaughter in public school in San Francisco. I have a son-in-law who teaches in public school in Arizona. So I have it from the teacher side and from the student side. The concern among classmates or fellow teachers is it going to be safe? I'm
Yeah.
very worried about my son-in-law. He teaches children with disabilities, and he has a passion for it, and he wants to get back. But some, as you know, in Arizona, some teachers died, not even in communication with students, but just trying to make sure the classroom was ready.
No, Arizona, it's
97 days from now,
Yep.
America will engage in the peaceful transfer of power, of which we are very proud in our democracy. Anybody who tells you that there's not a big difference between Democrats and Republicans hasn't spent a day in the Congress of the United States. The vast difference, the chasm between us, and it's like the difference between, Toynbee talked about it. There are some, in the study of civilization and societies are formed, some are there for the flowering of the whole society so that everyone can succeed, and others are there just for the power and the money.
exactly
And when
right.
those exist in the same society, it causes a schism of the political soul. That's what we have now, a schism between the Democrats and the Republicans. So when we win on election day, and we must do, well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything political here.
Yes,
but
you
from a
can.
civic-
With us,
from
you
a
can.
civic standpoint, from a constitutional standpoint, when the peaceful transfer of power takes place that day, it is essential that we'll hold our house and grow our number. In doing so, we want to win the Senate because it's very important, not only for policy and budget, but also for the courts. because you see what they've done packing the courts with anti attitudes. And then, of course, to win the Electoral College to elect Joe Biden president of the United States. Meanwhile, with all of this, I mean, 6 months ago, we never heard of coronavirus. 3 months ago, we never heard of George Floyd, bless his heart, we miss him. And a couple weeks ago, we lost our John Lewis. So there's a lot going on, and this negotiation where our values are so completely different in terms of who we are here to serve, the special interest or the people's interest. That's just the way it is. But we don't agonize, as you and I say to each other all the time. We don't agonize, we organize, and you know what else? We unionize.
Exactly.
Because that will have the biggest difference in ending the disparity of income and equity in our country, is if we can continue to organize in a way for collective bargaining, for safety in the workplace. Well, you know the list better than I, but that is essential.
I want to say something to you and to those who are still watching, who may have watched the last panel. The one thing you do, which is it's not just about seeing the differences between Democrats and Republicans. It's that the bills that you were actually able to whip and get passed, because you have quite, there's a big difference in your conference in terms of, and the overwhelming nature in which you have gotten these bills passed. They do rewrite the rules. They do change the power balance. H.R. 1 will create a more fairer democracy if we can get that through the Senate. The George Floyd policing bill will create more equity and will attack racial discrimination. The bills about unions and having that balance of power. And part of what I think we also have to do is we have to be better explainers about how the kind of work in government can rewrite the rules. But the work that you have done, and I've watched it this year, if we could get those things passed, that would change power balance so that workers and working families had more, not just more power, but a better life than they have right now.
I appreciate you saying that. Let me just say, whatever the differences of opinion we have in our caucus, they're very, very small compared to the difference between Democrats and Republicans in the Congress. And it is, and actually, I say to Republicans, take back your party. This isn't who you are. This is a cult. This is a very damaging group of people who really don't believe, again, in science, don't believe in governance, and really don't care. They just really don't care. But let's just say this. That's their problem.
Right.
Our hope is, and our opportunity is in the beautiful diversity of America. They're afraid, these people, some of them here, they're afraid of newcomers. They're afraid of people who don't look like them. They're afraid of diversity. They're afraid of women. They're afraid of LGBTQ because they have their own insecurities. That's their problem. We don't agonize. We organize. We unionize, and we will win. But we all have to get out the vote. People have to understand that. And whether you're Democrat or Republican, make sure whoever you vote for knows what you care about, so that not only is your voice heard by your vote, but by your views are made known to those in office, so they know if they want your support, they have to respect your concerns. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us today.
I'm honored to be with you always. Thank you so much. And
thank you.
Thank you for your extraordinary leadership. I know you personally. I know your parents. I know your wife. I see you personally. I see you politically. I see you organizationally. I'd never want to follow Randy on the platform. She's just too dazzling. So thank you all, to all of your members, to each and every one of you. Thank you
for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.